eThekwini Municipality says its beaches are safe to use, but the DA and Action SA are convinced that the stink continues. Now, they're convinced the ocean is still contaminated with E.Coli. The municipality has even committed to conducting daily water quality tests at the city's beaches. So let's discuss this even further now with water expert and University of Free State Environmental Management. That's Professor Anthony Turton joining me this morning. Prof, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time. I think holidaymakers are confused right now. Mixed information on whether or not the beaches are safe to go to this holiday. On one end, the eThekwini municipality saying, yes, thumbs up, please come through and enjoy the beaches. But we know that different experts and opposition parties are saying, no, they're not safe until of late. So what is your view? What's really happening in Durban Beaches?
Good morning to you and the listeners. Listen, I don't want to get drawn into a politicized nature of the debate, because that's clearly a politicized situation where your opposition party say one thing and the ruling party says something else. I'm a scientist, so I stick to the facts, and I believe that facts are our good friends. So the simple fact of the matter is that the sewage system nationwide has been in an advancing state of disrepair over the last 2 decades. We see about 60% of the sewage works in the country are dysfunctional in some form or other. It's going to cost about 1 trillion rand to fix this thing up. So this is not a quick fix. It's not going to happen in the next month or so. More importantly, this problem is so complex that it's way beyond the scope of any council meeting. I always find it quite amusing when some people sit to get down in a formal meeting and take minutes of the meeting, and they then decide that the problem is gone. Unfortunately, it's not. This is a persistent problem. It's a nationwide problem. And while I applaud the fact that the beaches are going to be tested on a more regular basis, the reality is that there's an erosion of trust. The trust in government has been lost, unfortunately. And if you want to trace where this thing comes from, the erosion of trust goes back to a time when Nomvula Mokonyane was the Minister of Water and Sanitation, and she unilaterally decided to suspend the blue and green drop reporting standard. And it was that same reporting standard that was designed to build public trust. And the current minister, Senzo Mchunu, has reinstated that the blue and green drop reporting standard. So we must support him for that and applaud him for that. And it's precisely because of the reinstatement that we can start slowly rebuilding public trust. But the reality of the situation now today is that there is still significant quantities of sewage flowing into the ocean. Yeah. Does not necessarily pose a human risk, but I can unpack that a little bit if you want me to.
Yes, please, Prof. If I may, because I think that's why we're having this conversation, right, Prof? Because we're days away from people shutting down, closing off their laptops, and sending out those out of office emails for the holidays. So they need to make informed decisions based on the facts. So is it safe for them to actually get in the water? To what extent is it dangerous when there are E. coli levels or even sewage spillage in the water?
Okay, so I'll answer that question by saying that the first thing that I think is in the public interest is the blue flag reporting standard. Because if a beach has been designated as a blue flag beach, it's been designated by independent people, so in other words, not by the state, so it's reliable. But the important thing is that the blue flag status contains a number of elements to it, one of which is water quality, but it includes other things like all about basically human safety. So if a beach has got a blue flag status, then you can believe that beach is safe. That's the first thing that I would like to say. Okay, then the second thing is that there is a private laboratory called Talbot. They do testing on a regular basis, and their data is available on their website. Because they're independent, they've got no vested financial interest in this matter. They do it as a public service. So I would urge the public to look at the Talbot website and get their daily upgrades from them. Then the third thing I would suggest is that where the surf is active, in other words, where there's active waves breaking, etc., the risk is relatively low in that space because there's active mixing and there's all kinds of stuff happening in the water. So on an open beach where there's active surf, I would say that you're relatively safe there. But I would definitely urge people to avoid paddling in lagoons.
Okay.
Wherever there's a lagoon, the lagoon is the end of a river that's a highly distressed river, and it's concentrated all of the nasty stuff coming down the river. So avoid paddling in lagoons, avoid physical contact with any water from a lagoon. And if you are walking on the beach and you see water flowing over the beach from some place or other, just avoid that water. It might be a septic tank or something. Just avoid that water. But otherwise, have a good, happy time. You must remember that sunshine is good not only for you, it's also good for destroying all the bugs and stuff that we have. So go and have a good holiday. Rely on the local knowledge and unwind, decompress. Remember, KZN needs that tourism industry. It's part of the sustainable livelihood for millions of people who live in KZN.
And I'll leave it there on that positive note, of course, cheering on holidaymakers to have a good time this December. We've been through a lot. But, Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Professor Anthony Turton, a water expert from the Centre for Environmental Management